Rhino Credentia.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 8th of March, 2020. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today is Zachary Burgess.
That wasn't a new starting word. That was still in the old category.
And Robert Kemp.
I'm suffering from a bad case of Rhino Credentia.
Exactly. It sounds exactly like some kind of disease. That would be a topical launch word for our podcast.
Yeah, I suppose it could be. Yeah, sounds, it's nasally, isn't it?
So topical.
Rhino.
Hello, is your old pal Corona here?
What are you going to sell us, Corona?
A bunch of cats that make you ill. Yeah, pretty much.
That sounds like something he'd do.
But that's literally what he does in the game.
That's true.
You get those, the first time, it might be the first time he comes up, he offers to sell you a bunch of those cat creatures, the little furry cat creatures.
Right.
And if you buy them, you can just keep them in the boxes and never open them. If you don't buy them, they just come up the elevator anyway. And those are the things that turn into the scratchers if you let them eat garbage.
Mm.
So it's actually safer to buy them and then just never open the boxes.
Let them die in the crate.
But how would you know that?
You wouldn't. But that's that's how that game works.
Are those crates like Pokeballs? Like, so if the things are in them, like they're actually okay.
That's the only time you ever have those crates for like creatures.
For life.
Because it's the same kind of crate that the Scuzzer droids come out of. The little yellow square ones.
Yeah, okay, right.
They just reuse that system for this one specific joke, I guess.
Schrodinger's crates. If you don't open them,
then they can't kill you.
yeah.
Cats are both dead and alive. You are simultaneously ill and fine.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think describes the entire human race.
Currently.
You're simultaneously ill and fine. Are you worried about it? Is it getting to you? All this corona news?
Well, my whole respiratory tract is a problem in general, so I don't know what. Like, is it more bad for me or less bad? Like, does the fact that I constantly have a whole shit ton of phlegm flying around in there give me like extra layers of defense, or is it just going to get fucked up better?
Well, it might do, to be honest. It might actually be better.
I'm rethinking my entire life here. Like, why did I get a job and come and live in one of the biggest cities in the world when I could have stayed in my parents' room in Nina Market? It would have been safe.
Well, you'll probably have better hospitals.
Well,
better, but maybe more
dense,
populated.
yeah.
I think they're going to be plenty busy.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, just the testing part. And how on earth are they actually isolating people is the other thing.
Well, they're not really. They aren't really doing anything. They're just like, go home and stay home.
Lock yourself in. Get dominated.
Not a problem for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's the other bonus to my situation. It's like, maybe I won't get ill. If I do, I'll probably be fine. I mean, assuming I don't die, I'll probably be fine.
Are you susceptible to flu? Do you get flu very often?
I don't know. I don't think I've been ill for like a number of years.
I mean, I've been ill this year, but not.
Oh, well, sure. I got whatever you had a bit.
Yeah.
Although I don't think I had it as bad as you.
No. No one seems to have had it as bad as me this year, which is rare.
Did you have actual flu this year?
No. I didn't.
Because I can't remember the last time I had actual flu, and I'm not sure if. I'm not sure if I have since I was.
I definitely had it. Home. I definitely had Freshers flu.
Sure. Oh yeah.
I got that real bad.
But that's just the cold.
No, this was
actual flu.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Good couple of weeks. Nasty. Not a great way to start term.
I remember Freshers flu. Yeah.
But yeah, that was proper. I think I probably have had it once since then. I think. Most of the time, just man flu, I suppose, not real flu.
Whatever that actually means.
It just means bad head cold when you happen to be
yeah, that's what it means. Yeah. So have you got
so debilitating? Oh my god!
You got some stocks in if you need to. What's your plan if you have to stay in for 2 weeks? What are you going to play?
Ooh, well, I've got plenty. My backlog
I think we all have plenty of that.
Yeah, my backlog is huge. It's not a problem. I will be entertained. In fact, someone give me flu. It'll be fine. The probability of like you're not likely to die from it. Like, unless you're like.
Well, we
old.
don't technically know that
No.
yet, but probably not.
Yeah,
no,
well, that's
but-
true.
but-
No, we do,
yeah.
because people recover from it already.
Yeah, there's already people
Yeah,
recovering.
but we don't know like
the-
percentages or whatever.
The
Exactly.
current
No.
rate is about 5% or something.
No,
It's like-
less than that.
Theoretically, that's
It's 1 to 2%.
That was
Currently.
5 was last.
For what? For like death? Yeah, 1 to
Yeah.
2. 1 to 2%.
Okay.
But that's still
1%
really
is
high.
actually, like low.
Yeah.
That's still a large number of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of
I
people.
suppose.
Yeah. I think, if it gets bad, then there's just going to be a lot of people who's sad that their granny died like slightly before their time.
Yeah, I feel like that
Which isn't
might
good, obviously.
be the case in our family. Our one remaining grandparent in our family.
Mm.
And she's barely holding on, to be honest.
And it's going to be grim because you won't be able to go to their funerals and stuff because you'll all have to stay away from gatherings, which would be extra sad.
Well, I mean, as long as you agree with the rest of your family that you're all going to get ill if you go to this funeral, then it's
Oh,
probably
right.
right.
And then, yeah, I
Because
guess.
it's only
If you
within
like
your own
the-
family.
Like a funeral pact. Yeah, let's all celebrate the life of our family
Yeah,
member
there
and
could be
simultaneously
one
get sick.
bigger event after everything. It would just be like, hey, celebration. There's enough people here we could get fireworks in.
For a funeral.
Well, depends who you are. You might be into that.
And if those ashes burn in a specific colour. And then. I don't think that's how that works.
What colour
No,
the human ash
you're
was
gonna
created
load
as
up your
firework?
fireworks, would you?
I mean, it's iron, right? So that's like, I don't know what colour iron is in flame tests.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's like
sparkly.
yellowy, isn't it? Like
yeah, it's
iron
just like
filings.
generic, regular
Yeah.
colour.
And copper is green.
Whitish.
Yeah. Is copper green when you burn it as well as when it rusts and stuff? I think it is.
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You stick it in a fire and it goes green.
Yeah.
Well, the flame goes green anyway.
So that's only if you're having a horseshoe crab funeral that you have green fireworks from the copper blood.
Is the safest form of funeral just like everyone gets a Viking funeral?
Well, in cremation, yes, pretty
No,
much.
Yeah, but you just put them out to sea.
Well, unless
but
it can
Vikings
infect
were-
fish.
Well, did they go out to sea? Because I thought you just buried them in a
Buried
boat
them in a
on the
boat,
land, right? Like in
Oh,
something.
that's the,
It's probably
No, that's-
it's probably
I
a
thought that was-
myth that they actually set them on fire.
wasn't that more a Saxon thing than a Viking thing?
It's the same thing, though, isn't it? Really?
No, because the Saxons got beaten by the Vikings. They got kind of.
That's
Yeah,
true.
they probably inherited all their rituals.
You're
from
probably
being
right, though.
beaten by the Vikings.
Yeah,
They probably
I
had
thought
slight
Viking-
differences, though, right? Yeah,
I thought Viking funerals were like the classic burning raft.
Right.
I think those were probably only for special people, though.
maybe, yeah.
You want the Boromir style, go over the waterfall, and then presumably, I don't know what happens to Boromir after that.
It's such a even in the film, it's just like
That doesn't seem like a very good
No.
way
I'm
of
sure,
doing
it's
it.
like it looks good to the people
Looks cool.
upstream, but
Yeah.
anyone standing below the waterfall gets to see a flailing corpse fall into the pool.
Yeah, but you
It's just
know-
like that's significantly less cool.
It's like that's only really good if there are if you know there are no villagers downstream from you, are they? Because it's going to wash up on some bank somewhere.
No,
and they'll
well,
go,
I mean, that
"I've got
river
Boromir's
goes down,
corpse!"
like, it literally goes through Osgiliath, that entire city. Like, they're upstream from Osgiliath, I think, at that point. Yeah, definitely. So, if
got some sort of
his
magic
corpse
fire
was
where
on
it
his
just-
way out to sea, it would go through the entire country of Gondor, basically.
Well, it might be alright if it's like there was some sort of magic fire that lasts the whole way, so they know not to approach this.
But he wasn't on fire, was he? He was just in a boat.
Yeah, they didn't even set him on
No.
fire.
No, they missed a trick.
Yeah, they
That would have
did.
looked even more ridiculous going over a waterfall. Fiery boat.
That's pretty good, though, as funerals go. I don't know. You could do worse than a fiery boat going over a waterfall.
As long as you just don't think about it too much. That's what
Yeah,
you did.
exactly. Never think about it too much.
You think about the coolness of those 30 seconds. You don't think about
Yeah.
any of the consequences.
You
Exactly.
really want to be hired as the cleanup crew for Boromir's funeral. Like, just they're sat at the bottom of the waterfall going, well, we don't even get to see the good bit.
I want to be cremated and packed into a firework. And it exploded across the sky.
And then rain down on everyone in the
Yeah.
vicinity.
And it rained down on
There
all.
will be a little bit of me ingested into everyone. I
Well,
will be
man,
a
I will be someone's future lung cancer as they breathe in this dust.
I love that scene in The Big Lebowski, right? You know, where they cremate Donnie, right, and try to like throw him out over the ocean, but it just gets immediately blown straight
in
back
their
into. into his face.
I've not seen The Big Lebowski.
What, dude?
Yeah.
That's a really good film. That's one of those
so
films. It's one of those films that you could just watch over and over again. I think, like if it's on, I will watch it, and I've done that like 10 times. I think probably it's just that.
Oh, so it's your Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Because Spider-Man 1 does that to me, like Fifth Element as well.
Yeah, totally. It's one of those films.
Mm.
I think it's funny, obviously. It's comedy. It's Coen Brothers. I don't know why I'm trying to sell it because most people know.
I think most people are already aware.
Yeah,
and even Rob is aware on some
level. I'm aware
level.
of the film. It's just not something I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, I'm up for watching that sometime. Let's see if Noam's seen it.
Add that to the list of all of the Matrix films.
Oh yeah, we need to watch them. I'm annoyed that we didn't get to see the Matrix in the cinema because we didn't get organised.
Well, yeah, but they might be. I'm surprised they haven't put out the 4K release somewhere yet. If they did it in cinemas, it's like, why isn't it turned up on Netflix or something? Or have they put out a 4K Blu-ray yet? Or,
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it on Netflix. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen any of the Matrix films on any of streaming services.
Yeah.
Even though it's do Warner Brothers really engage with those services? I don't know.
I
think I might have seen it on Now TV, but that doesn't really count.
No, because that would be Sky Movies.
Yeah, that's just pulling it off the Sky Movie service.
Yeah, so it certainly won't be a. But it's rarely a. I don't know. Now TV isn't entirely HD, is it? Like a lot of it's still. I was looking at TV options again recently because my brother moved into his new house fairly recently, and they.
Oh, we did.
And yeah, I think they got that sorted about 3 weeks ago. But one of the so in the classic state of this estate and its terrible broadband.
It's not that terrible.
I mean, it's not that terrible. Well, it's terrible in the sense that where I am, I can get fiber to the cabinet, which is fine for my needs.
Yeah.
Where he used to be, 100 yards down the road, that doesn't exist. So you have to have some kind of ADSL connection, which is just why it's so close. But then on the new bit of the estate that they're still finishing up, you can't get fiber to the cabinet, but you can get fiber to the premises.
Okay, well that's probably better if you could afford it.
Very much better. So he's got that now, and some ridiculous connection to go with it. And it's just like, maybe I'll look into, maybe I can get that, given that it's over there. No. Of course not.
What?
Yeah, it's rubbish. It's like I want it. I don't need it, but I want it. And while I was looking into it, maybe I can discontinue my Sky, and maybe I'll get a TV package through Virgin or something instead.
Yeah.
And then, because Noam's been saying, well, maybe we don't need the Sky and we can just do everything through iPlayer, which is technically true, but it's kind of a pain in the arse to use all these separate services to get your TV, right? If I want to watch something on Beeb, I have to go to the iPlayer app and then find it in the iPlayer app and then...
Yeah, it is annoying.
And then watch it. And it's whereas, Sky collates everything I've told it to collate.
Well, maybe there's some way of getting it, but there's other ways of getting a unified interface. I haven't looked into, but I imagine something like Apple TV would smooth it over. Chromecast is okay.
Maybe, but it's still all apps, isn't it? That's the problem.
Well, I don't know. Doesn't it give you a unified interface for searching across the apps? So
I can tell you that, as it turns out, we actually have a Roku at our house now.
Oh, cool.
And I turned that on to look at it, and it's there's just a big menu of apps. And also, apparently, even though we have a Roku, I'm not sure why, because all of the apps that I tried to launch, we don't have a login for. I'm just why does this box exist? What is its purpose? I don't know.
I can't use Netflix because I don't know how to log in. We haven't got an account, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no accounts on any of those apps seem to exist. So I'm why does this box exist? I haven't found out yet.
So even though it's expensive, I haven't quite brought myself to discontinue the Sky yet. In fact, I might upgrade it to get a Q box, basically.
The exact opposite.
Yeah, because our box is a little bit. We've got one of the old Sky HD boxes, and it's occasionally having audio problems now. Where it starts to stutter a bit until you decide to back out of a recording and go back in, which isn't too much of a hassle, but it's still something, right? And also, I still get Sky F1 for some reason without paying for it. Because it's according to the website, it's a legacy entitlement.
Oh right, yeah.
That I still get. So if I was to upgrade my package without changing anything else, I still get it without having to pay for Sky Sports, which is great. So there's that. I might keep my Sky, given that I can't get anything else really. I can't remember. I'm sure there was a point to where I started with this, but it's gone. Looking into TV in some way.
You were talking about the broadband.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. But I think that was leading into something about TV, but now I can't remember. Yeah, I've lost the plot.
You don't have Netflix, right? But you.
I don't have
Amazon?
Netflix, but I've got Prime.
Yeah.
Because I primarily had Prime for using Amazon, not
for
necessarily
the
for the video.
Getting boxes delivered.
Yeah. But the video's a nice extra because we do use Prime quite a bit. We're watching Picard, which oh my god has got good.
Really?
Yeah, the last couple of episodes are really quality.
So I watched.
I don't know. I was going off it honestly.
Yeah.
I thought it started fairly cool because it's just like
first episode
nostalgia.
was a nostalgia zone.
And then I thought it started drifting off a bit. And then there's a turnaround in like episode 5, I think, and you're just like, ooh, I didn't see that coming.
Oh, interesting. Because I watched one, and we talked about it on the cast as well. And then I watched 2 and 3, but mainly because Red Letter Media had put out an episode on 2 and 3, so I wanted to watch those. So I did, and I was like, oh dear.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It definitely seems to dip off because it's like they seem to spend. They seem so eager to not be in space. Right. At the start of the series, right? They take like three episodes before there is even the semblance of a ship.
But my problem is and it's especially more when watching the Red Letter Media things, is that it's just even if it's enjoyable, like it's just so far from being Star Trek that it's like, why even bother? Why even bother using the same characters?
I know what you mean. There is that and that hangs over the whole thing a little bit, and it's like this isn't really the Star Trek universe. They've twisted it enough to the point where it's just like this doesn't feel like the same place, like the same rules. Like the Federation definitely doesn't feel. I guess that's kind of the point of the series, to be honest. The Federation is no longer the Federation it once was.
Well, that's kind of.
Everything's
supposedly
gone a bit dark and mean, and
it's just like the only reason that Patrick Stewart did it was because he was, because it's supposed to be like America. It used to be good, but now it's Trump or whatever. And yeah, I don't know.
Sure. I mean, yeah, and they've all suffered from trendy wine bar lighting. It seems like nowhere properly lights their ship anymore.
It's gone from because the 2009 Star Trek is like ultra lights, lens flares all over the place. Yeah.
I mean, there's a fair amount of lens flare, but still,
yeah. I don't know.
That weird thing where like everything seems to be made of like dark metal, so it's sort of shiny but still very dark. And then bright lights are everywhere, but they don't look very bright because everything's dark. It's weird. It's that sort of look. Like
my favorite is
look, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
The stupid names for everything. Like, I mean, they were making fun of this on the Red Letter Media, but what's her name? The first robot girl that you meet, her name's Daj. And then it's not the Tal Shiar, it's the Daj or something, isn't it? The Romulan ultra secret force, right?
Sure, but
they're called the Daj or something.
But most of the time they call them the Tal Shiar for the rest of the series.
Oh, do they? Okay, because Tal Shiar is a Star Trek thing, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I don't mind the naming stuff so much. That's fine. It's well, apart from I don't know, there's a place called Free Cloud later on, and it's just like that doesn't sound very.
Free Cloud. Is that the Las Vegas, but not the Star Wars Las Vegas?
Yes, it's exactly that.
What's the Star Wars one called? Canto Bight.
Yeah.
See, that's not a bad name for a Star Wars location, even though it was bad.
Well, it's no like Kashyyyk. no place with 3 Ys.
That's true.
Although actually, for the first time the other day, I was watching a YouTube video. For the first time, I saw Canto Bite spelled out, and I was like, "Wow, what?" And then I realised what it actually said. I was like, "Oh, that's that place." Now I've put together how it's pronounced and how it's written, and I'm like, "Oh, right."
It's not like a bit of derogatory graffiti from Pokemon, is it? Canto Bites.
No.
I loved how that one of my favorite stupid things in The Last Jedi was how Canto Bite literally had the kitty races from Grim Fandango.
Did they launch a simulation that never ended?
Oh yeah.
The game.
Wednesday is Kitty Hat Day.
Welcome to the Boonta Classic.
Beloved Sand Spoof.
Very nice. Maybe that's what I should name my next cat. Sand Spoof.
Probably not though.
Sand Spoof. I bet there are some cats out there named Sand Spoof.
Oh,
it was Sand Spoof, right? I'm not making that up.
It sounds right. Sand Spoof. Is it like I'm spoofing sand? It's like I'm not real sand. I'm spoofing sand. I'm a sand spoof. Or is it just he's so spoofy?
Apparently, they're putting out a whole bunch of, as in Disney, seem to be tweeting a bunch of weird retcons now that Star Wars is finished or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, by the way, the Emperor was a clone.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
It's like, why?
Yeah, but we
Shut up.
know that though.
Because he sort of already died, I suppose, wasn't it?
Well, he fucking
kind of said
exploded in Return of the
He
Jedi.
kind of explicitly said that he had multiple bodies or whatever at some point, right? I think he said that.
Yeah. I think it was, or maybe it was implied, not directly said.
Yeah,
Like
maybe.
But it seemed like his
maybe that was all
cloning
those
equipment
guys
was
in
a
his
bit
lair,
shit.
right? Maybe they were all evil Palpatine clones. They just weren't in charge yet.
They were all backups, but you never really saw them, did you? The weird gallery of random
Whoever the
Sith
hell was in
dudes.
there.
Yeah. But his cloning tanks seem to make monstrous things like Snoke, right?
Well, maybe Snoke was just like an early version that was bad.
Yeah,
Like this didn't go very well, and he looks all fucked up. But we've refined the technique since then.
Right. But I mean, Kaminoans didn't seem to have any problem making an entire army of perfect clones.
I was
Yeah, but that's
clones are already a
That's
thing.
like how all of Star Wars is. When it's like when you go back to fucking Naboo and they have all their fancy ass ships, and it's like, where did that technology go? By even the fourth film.
Yeah. Well, I guess they never told the story of the downfall of Naboo that clearly happened.
Well, yeah, it got blown apart.
Probably in the cartoon, that like everything else. If I ever ask my brother anything about that, he's like, because he's seen all the Clone Wars cartoons or whatever, even though they're kind of janky.
Kind of butt?
Yeah, kind of butt, to say the least. But it's interesting because some of that stuff like ties into the actual good Star Wars at the moment, which is The Mandalorian.
I've seen the stuff about how they made that. That's cool.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen that recent video
yeah,
about the entire set that's made of Unreal Engine, basically?
Yeah, it's cool.
Once you realize that like most of the scenes are shot that way. It's like, it's going to completely revolutionize TV, I think.
Oh, yeah. You don't need huge studios. You don't need so much set budget. You don't need, all the lighting is because they're LED screens and stuff like that actually matches the set you're projecting.
It's amazing.
It's genius. It's like I've seen that stuff before, like in not to that quality level, but it's like it's already being used for like sports studios and things like that. Like the virtual set that was used for ITV's World Cup coverage. Yeah, it was basically that. It was a camera frustrum oriented virtual set, but they green screened out some of it, or blue screened. Some of it out still, so then the CG was just put on top of that area rather than using screens. Right. But it's weird because in some aspects it seems like that's super obvious, right? It's just that the real-time tech for the graphics hasn't quite been there until now.
Before, and I guess probably the screens weren't possible
No, maybe not.
So it's all coming together, I guess, at the same time. But
because I guess those screens have to be like hella resolution to make this work, or the cameras have to always be make them slightly out of focus. So you never see the.
Yeah.
Well, also probably have to be pretty bright to actually illuminate the scene.
True. Yeah, you need some color LEDs to make that work and look natural.
But they can, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it does contribute to the feel. Like the whole show does feel kind of like a video game, but I mean, I understand that a bit more now. But that doesn't really detract from it.
Just wait until you see some background element that's havoc physics, and you're like, "Oh, look at that crate jiggle! I recognise that."
yeah, definitely.
Well, they spawned that guy 2 feet off the floor. There's the Disney Plus have finally sort of started their ad campaigns, for the UK version at least.
By claiming The Simpsons.
What? Claiming The Simpsons? Is like, they've got The Simpsons.
Well, yes, because it's Fox, and that's Disney.
Oh.
Yeah. But they made some weird deal where, like, Channel 4 and the other channel in the UK still shows The Simpsons will still get to keep the older episodes, but not like the new ones or whatever.
Oh,
okay. It's like Sky have had that license forever.
Oh yeah, it's Sky and Channel 4. That's right.
Yeah,
they still. I think actually Sky gets slightly more than Channel 4 for some reason.
I mean, Sky are all the way up to current, so it's.
But yeah, they're not. I think Disney have now shuffled that onto their streaming platform, as you would if you owned The Simpsons, I guess.
Yeah, because they need some content. Although they make it sound like they've got a hell of a lot of stuff on there.
Like they presumably have a hell of a lot of Simpsons.
Their numbers for the amount of things they've put on there seem good, but it's like, is it like all old episodes of that Hannah Montana show? It's just like the stuff no one's ever going to want to watch.
I mean, they can't have that much stuff yet, but they're going to try and build up to.
Well, I mean, Disney Channel's been running for years, so they've probably got a whole load of like. They've probably got that series of Doug that Disney made, that weird one. Yeah, they probably had a lot less of that. And he had a new shirt.
It was weird by being less weird, essentially.
Yeah. Patty mayonnaise. And killer tofu.
Okay, well, that's random and film-ish section.
Film. Now it's time for video game news.
Not that there's much of that either.
Wagwan.
Things.
Well, it's more like not things.
Yeah.
The main news.
Not a huge amount of news. I mean, there's the usual coronavirus stuff going around. People pulling out of events.
Everyone's cancelling.
Yeah. E3 is currently apparently untouched.
Well, it's like E3 in the Olympics. It's like they're hoping that it's all going to be over by the summer, basically.
Oh man, yeah. I hope the Olympics isn't affected. Lovely.
It could be fine.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be going to Glastonbury. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, no one will care down in Cornwall. We'll be fine.
In Cornwall?
Well, it's near Cornwall, isn't it?
It's west of London, so yeah, it's near Cornwall.
Very technically.
It's not just west. It's like quite. It's a fair amount of the distance that direction. There's more mid-south.
Anywho.
Mid-south, southwest.
Mid-south, yeah. What we got? The Nintendo PlayStation was found and sold on an auction. The Nintendo PlayStation.
Like a dev
that
kit.
thing they were making before the Nintendo and Sony deal fell apart, before Sony went and made PlayStation and Nintendo went and made N64. I don't know how many of those are about, but presumably not many.
Well, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it got sold for £275,000.
That doesn't even actually seem like that much. Considering it's a prototype development console that there might only be one or two of.
That might not even work.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Didn't they say that the last one of these that they had didn't work, but someone fixed it to make it work?
I imagine you could get something running on it, but it depends what actually was with it. What materials did the device come with? Did it come with any software or anything you could actually use to power it properly? You need someone with some serious expertise to get their hands on it, but I'm not entirely sure that the guy that runs pets.com is planning to do that.
even though he might say he is.
Yeah, well, he's saying he's sort of building a video game museum of some kind, and as Zach correctly pointed out, in his house, probably. This is my game wing that no one gets to see. Yeah, sort of thing. An interesting looking thing because it looks a little bit like a SNES with a CD drive, and then controller ports that look like SNES controller ports. But then PlayStation controller ports, I suppose, are kind of weird and long as well. There's that. In the spirit of everyone reworking their games that didn't go down so well, Ubisoft have joined the party and are now apparently reworking Breakpoint.
Even though I'm pretty sure they already said they would do that at some point in the last few months.
They said that it hadn't. To my knowledge, the last thing I knew was they'd said that it hadn't performed well at all.
No, it was.
And they were, like,
it was an investor call, wasn't it? Where they said Breakpoint basically fucked up their entire start of this year, and they had to delay everything. I guess they didn't specifically say because we're going to work on Breakpoint.
Pretty much every game that was going to come out this year has been pushed to some degree. Like, because Watch Dogs Legions was supposed to be out pretty much now.
Yep.
I think, and we don't know when that's now coming out. And the same, was it Gods and Monsters? Was that the other thing? The Breath of the Wild-ish?
Well, that didn't even look like it was going to come out maybe even this year.
Hadn't seen any.
Because they hadn't shown anything,
gameplay of that. And I think there's one other title that they definitely pushed as well, and I can't remember what that was. But they say that there's two more that may have been delayed as well. And I think Jason Schreier, the Kotaku fame, who seems to have the scoop on everything these days, came out and said, yeah, those other two games, they're the next Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Whatever schedule they were on, that's probably been bumped as well.
It's kind of disappointing that they're still making more Assassin's Creed and Far Cry.
I mean, at least Assassin's Creed reinvented itself a little bit 2 games ago.
But then they stopped reinventing themselves again.
Well, they've only made 2 in this style. Only, I suppose.
And also, you can argue that this style is actually as good as what they were going to originally be doing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And, Far Cry. Far Cry needs some help. It needs to be a different game now.
Yeah, except
except it still sells. Like, Far Cry 5 still did numbers.
Well, I think the only thing that would make me marginally more interested in Far Cry again at this point, not that I've even played any of them. The only thing that would make me more interested is it's the Call of Duty situation again. They need to go to space.
What? And then no one will like that, and then they'll do another normal one, and everyone will like it again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Far Cry in space. The Forest Cry. The furthest cry, not farthest.
Trouble is that then they'd be cannibalizing Beyond Good and Evil. You put Far Cry in space.
We don't even know how much team is even on Beyond Good and Evil at this point. It's just, I still have my doubts about whether that game will ever be a thing. Like, it's like how many people are working on it?
I'm pretty sure
Michel Ancel is on his own.
I feel like at this point they've definitely put too much money into it for it to not be a thing for Ubisoft.
I suppose it's been on the stage too much as well. I think it can. It's fine. We still don't know what's happening with Skull and Bones, mate. That might have been the other one.
No, that got cancelled though, didn't it?
It got indefinitely delayed.
Well, that might as well be.
So apparently it's still about. Apparently. That's the same thing as Dying Light 2, in theory, because that was indefinitely delayed. But that's clearly so far along that can't possibly be cancelled. Can't possibly. Yeah, so maybe we'll see if this is all nonsense or if it will actually do an Anthem. Not that Anthem's done its Anthem yet.
No. And how likely is that to work?
There's that whole debate about whether they should charge for new Anthem if they do make a new Anthem. It's like, or should it actually just come out as like Anthem 2, but be not as expensive at launch or something? Or
again, the same situation as Destiny, essentially. But like, then people will say the same thing about it, which is what happened with Final Fantasy 14? One developer did it, and now everyone is going to be compared to that situation.
Well, and don't forget Ubisoft kind of made it work with Rainbow Six Siege as well. That's the other big one, right? Because Siege is
that wasn't like a bad game. That wasn't a bad game to start with.
It wasn't a terrible game, but it wasn't. It didn't take off, and it's only because they've been plugging away at it that it's become like as big as it is.
Yeah, that's not the same situation.
No,
it's not like making a bad game good. Making an okay game better by adding content, which is basically what a lot of games do nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think a lot of games like grow in popularity like that. There aren't many that can pull that off. That's kind of it's a feat. You either start big and get bigger, I suppose. You can still do that. Whereas if you start medium, then you're like, you don't really grow from that because you don't get so much word of mouth. But I don't know. Somehow they made it work. Let's talk about Halo Combat Evolved Master Chief Collection version for PC.
It suddenly turned up.
And it's apparently bad.
Oh.
It's like, I don't know, I haven't tried it yet, because I get a copy on Game Pass. But
cool.
And I played the Master Chief Collection version on Xbox before and didn't really find too much of a problem with it. I thought that was fine. But
that was the easy one, maybe.
Yeah. But these PC versions, like so far, have been hugely problematic. Like Reach seemed fine to play when you put the 60 FPS cap on, but I couldn't forgive it its audio problems, such as basic stuttering, huge sync issues where sound effects would play late, and sometimes that queuing of lateness would just get worse and worse and worse the longer you played. It was a bad time.
And also, just the guns just sound really weedy for no reason.
The guns sound bad,
but they always did in Reach.
No, they don't sound as bad as they do now.
There's a comparison on the Digital Foundry.
Yeah, Digital Foundry
is just
like really good
night and day, basically.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, because maybe we'll come to this a little bit later, but Zach and I started playing a bit of ODST on the Xbox copy of Master Chief Collection, and I didn't think those guns sounded particularly weighty there.
No, I'm pretty sure they sounded bad in ODST as well.
Yeah, so that I can't remember so well. No. So that could very well be just how it is.
It's only the pistol. It's like, because you can never beat Halo 1's pistol, and every time they do it much worse, you're like, this is so fucking terrible. But it's only because you're remembering the one pistol that was good.
Then I thought the assault rifle was quite quiet as well, and they hadn't yet changed the sound for that, I don't think, at ODST time.
I don't think the assault rifle was ever loud, really. The original version of it, before it went all Halo 4 or whatever.
Yeah, Halo 4 changed it completely, but...
The Halo 2 SMG had a weird sound, which was kind of cool, but kind of sounded kind of flaky.
Kind of in ODST. They toned it down slightly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wonder if that was just the game, but I'm just misremembering it. That all the weapons were just toned down for more atmosphere.
Yeah, I feel like that was what it was like.
But yeah, apparently those same issues are cropping up in Halo Combat Evolved as well, like weak sound, terrible stuttering. There's plenty of crash bugs, apparently. There's a campaign deleting bug, a campaign save deleting bug, which is, unfortunately, because of the cross-save nature of it, will affect your Xbox version.
But apparently the Xbox barely knows what campaign saves you have. Yeah. By every time we turn that on the Xbox, it's just like, you've got a save in the 4th mission that you've never played.
And we loaded up ODST and it said we'd done some things, and it's like, no, we've never played ODST on Master Chief Collection. What are you talking about? What you're talking about? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand what's going on at 343. It's like they seem... Don't get me wrong. I think Halo 5 was a mighty fine game, but it's something they built. Well, I thought the multiplayer in particular was mighty fine, but it's like they and I guess that's a different scenario because 343 got to build that from the ground up. But these other things are like where they're having to work with Bungie's old tech. They just seem to suck at, and it's
particularly weird because it's just like, you wouldn't have thought it would be that much trouble to put the Master Chief Collection onto the PC, really. I mean, it's work, but it's not like the work that they did the first time round. but they had to rebuild it all through the console.
I imagine it's quite a challenge.
And we have to assume that
like, especially with, well, CE Anniversary is a special case because it's the anniversary version, right? So it's having to do those 2 graphic modes simultaneously. So it means it's on Xbox, at least, it was running the old engine under the hood, and then because I guess it could because Xbox.
Well, not a PC could do that though.
I wonder if they should have taken the Vista version.
No, they definitely shouldn't. I think it's safe to say that would have been even more of a nightmare to update.
That would at least sounded right.
Maybe. I don't know. They might have. Who knows what timing sync issues there might have been in Vista.
I did play that version, I think, back then.
I think I did somehow, even though I never had Vista.
No.
It's like I played that game at some point on PC.
Yeah, I don't know how I played it, but I definitely did. Anyway, they need to sort themselves out. Oh yeah, that was the other one. Depending, this one was nuts. Depending on the resolution you are playing at. Oh no, not resolution, frame rate. Sorry, the accuracy decrease you get when you sustain fire with some guns. The reticle gets bigger thing. If your frame rate is higher, the reticle gets bigger quicker, so your accuracy is like hella bad. And that affects both the campaign and the multiplayer. Meaning that if you're running like high, anything above 30 frames per second on multiplayer, you're currently at a disadvantage.
That means that we're going to get super hardcore speedruns that are like 5 frames a second, so they can be super accurate all the time.
Probably, yeah. I think the game has internal caps you can turn on at 30 and things like that. So it's that's just bizarre. Like just things like that. It's like, why did you put this thing out? He didn't even tell us it was. It's not like they had a release date.
No,
right?
It just suddenly turned up.
They just put it out, and they put it out bad. And apparently, this thing had a test flight as well. That's what they called it, the test flight. And they still chose to put it out like this. It's just.
Well, I mean, they did Reach as well. That did have a launch date, but it seems like it's mostly the same problems. So maybe it's just like an overarching problem with the whole system.
Yeah, it is very confusing. Sort it out. What else we got? Not a lot really. Last of Us might be getting an HBO show.
There's some. Oh, sorry. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean,
really.
It kind of is what it is. That's all we really know.
Okay. I mean,
I kind of think it could work, but
I mean, Naughty Dog's had some of the best writing in gaming, but that doesn't necessarily translate to TV.
No, so it's the guy that did Chernobyl with that TV
Oh, right.
series.
I mean, that's good, right?
Well, yeah, people seem to love it. I haven't watched it myself, but I know people who really, really got into it. And they're working directly with the Last of Us director Neil Druckmann, supposedly, on this thing. So it's the two people with some chops, heading this thing up. But it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong. The writing in Last of Us was good. Obviously, that the narrative is one of its key hooks. That opening, especially, is still one of the greatest things emotionally that I think a video game has ever done. And it's and I think it could translate relatively well. But as Zach pointed out, it's like, do we need another zombie show that's probably going to be quite a lot like The Walking Dead? And
well, I mean, The Walking Dead has gone way past. I mean, it's gone on forever, hasn't it? Is it done now?
No, I think there are bits that are still going. I don't know. There's like a billion spin-offs as well now.
Yeah. I guess they're definitely comparable. So I don't know.
Or maybe they're just timing it right. It's like, people are feeling the Walking Dead burnout. We'll come in and steal it all.
I don't think you can steal burnout from a zombie thing by another zombie thing. I think, like, isn't the zombie part the part that you're burning out on?
Yeah, probably. Probably. Well, let's see if this thing even gets made.
Yeah.
You know, because like,
I mean, it's not a film, so it's slightly more likely to actually come out.
I guess. Yeah, I suppose. Not like the Uncharted movie that is still floating around every now and then. And the only other thing I've got on my list, well, there's two things actually. One that's on the list, one that isn't.
Yeah.
Well, we could briefly mention that the creator of the Konami code, I apologize, I'm having to try and read my notes, which are tiny from this distance. Oh no, you just say it, Zach. I can't really read that first word.
I can barely read it from here.
His first name was
Kazuhisa Hashimoto.
Kazuhisa, that was it. Hashimoto. Created the Konami code while he was working on Gradius. You know, probably the most. Other than.
Did you miss the important part of that sentence?
What?
Don't think you actually said that he died at any point.
I think I started with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I led with that. But yeah, you know, it's kind of a big deal. It's like, is it possibly the most famous code other than up, down, left, right, ABC, start for the level select in Sonic 1? But this is my favourite code.
That's just pretty much the Konami code of that system, though.
Yeah.
Good for him, he came up with the code.
Yep.
Still the code today.
That's...
I watched a couple of trailers before coming into this. Well, trailers. There's some gameplay of Half-Life Alyx just been released. Don't know if you got a chance to see any of that. So it shows the different, motion modes. It has the sort of standard VR complement of the teleport mode and then a kind of shift mode where you actually, so it doesn't happen instantly, where you actually transition or whatever. And I think there's a free mode as well where you can actually walk around. So all the different modes for motion sickness, basically. But even the teleporty mode, it looks quite good. It's just very different, obviously, to traditional Half-Life where you're running around like crazy. In fact, in first one, you're just pegging it like skating around like it's Quake, because it was Quake.
Yeah, it was quite quick.
But that's reined all the way in. But it's interesting to see Half-Life gameplay.
Is it the sort of teleporting where you have to point and then effectively fire to teleport? So one of the gameplay shows, the little indicator of where that you aim with little feet on it or whatever. That doesn't look too incongruent, but it's a little bit odd for a Half-Life game. Because you think about it as being based on moving around quite quickly, especially the combat. So, but the last video shows an actual shootout with a combine, and in that one they're in the kind of shift mode. But I think you still point, and then it just moves really quickly. I guess to avoid the motion sickness. But obviously you're not running around like crazy, but at least the guy doing that particular gameplay did move around the area quite a bit. And of course, once you're in a spot, you can massively lean around and move car doors in the way and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like you're completely rooted to the spot, because you are in VR, and I guess somewhat, if you choose, somewhat room scale as well. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is how does it deal with that? And
I think
sort of part of the problem with room scale games presumably is if there's actual obstacles in the way, and what happens if you try and walk through them? You could.
I'm not sure what this guy or girl was doing, or whether, because supposedly you can play the whole game sitting in a chair if you want. So I'm not sure how the obstacles work, because obviously they show it off working as smoothly as possible. But that shows some crazy awesome stuff happening, obviously. But I'm not sure if you were doing it for the first time, you'd figure out that you could do half the stuff that the guy was doing. I wonder
if this is some of the stuff they were going to show at Game Awards before they pulled.
Yeah, I think it is. It is that stuff. Yeah,
just polished up a bit more.
Yeah, so they've just put that out. There's, he's catching grenades thrown at him with the gravity. Oh, it's her, isn't it? Because it's Alex.
Yeah.
She's catching grenades.
Something people would do quite a lot, because that was an old school Half-Life 2 action.
Yeah, classic stuff like that.
Catch them, fire back.
Yeah. all that sort of gravity gun stuff is now done with the hands, obviously. The gravity gloves. Yeah.
Which makes no sense continuity-wise.
No, it doesn't make sense continuity-wise. In fact, I don't think much of this is going to make that much sense continuity-wise. I mean, but maybe it will. I mean, it will have to because people
There's
get annoyed.
New types of head crab and stuff. I mean, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, some super detailed floppy head crab corpses that these kind of, wafting off surfaces in a hilarious manner.
Is there a cliff crab though?
I mean, zombies look pretty dangerous, like in comparison to in Half-Life 2, because you're kind of not as nimble.
Also, I don't think I've seen much in terms of like weapon variety out of Alex yet.
Yeah, it's mostly pistol stuff because you have to but the pistol seems to be, that's one thing that's shown is the weapon upgrade thing. So there's a bit where she puts the pistol into a machine and shows all of the options for upgrading it, and you can definitely attach things to it, different weapons, a shotgun as well. So you can definitely attach a grenade thing, propelled grenade on the end of it and stuff like that.
A pistol?
That was a shotgun, I think, which makes more sense.
Right.
Yeah, but it's definitely it seems like a one-handed thing, so you can keep the other hand free to do stuff.
Like all the gravity shit, basically.
Yeah, I guess.
And reloading, I guess. Reloading.
Yeah, and reloading. Yeah, by actually reloading.
Well, a bit of me wonder if that should be the drawback of using the bigger weapons, that you don't get your gravity glove, or you
maybe
can't, or you have to reload your shotgun by pumping or something, or
Yeah, but again, that's the same situation as the obstacles where you can't enforce a person to keep their two hands in that position unless it actually physically requires the two controllers to be in that exact alignment.
Sure, but unless you've come up with a decent enough gesture system that it's where one hand's out and the other one's pointing at it, but it's there you go. You're probably holding the gun. Well, we can fudge this a bit.
So yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, I'm probably never going to play that game at this point unless VR.
It's being designed for the Index, as well,
Yeah.
primarily. I know there's all the headsets in theory can be used, but it's it's what's making the Index sell so crazy.
I mean, I can't even really
crazy
go
as it
back
can.
to traditional PC FPSs because my RSI in my right hand fucks my mouse movement.
Sure.
So
But then most PC shooters can be played with controller now.
Yeah, I would totally play it with a controller. It's just a bit weird playing Half-Life with the controller. But yeah.
I mean, it's been done, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
PS3
totally.
version of
Yeah.
Half-Life 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Was it PS3?
So-
Yeah, it was PS3.
Yeah. Orange box.
Yeah, but presumably there's an Xbox 360 version then as well.
Probably. Yeah, so that's that. There's also a new trailer for Ghost of Tsushima. I still don't know much about the gameplay, but it looks
I don't
freaking
know
awesome.
if it was the trailer I saw on PSN earlier today. It was 40 seconds long, and basically you don't learn a lot from it. It's just some more cool ass looking stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the one I watched was a bit longer than that, but
Okay,
yeah.
maybe there's a
Yeah, it had
trailer.
some story stuff, but it was super early setting up stuff. A lot of people being I'm a samurai, and they're like, no, you're more than a samurai, you're the ghost.
Oh, okay. There wasn't any of that in this trailer that they had on PSN. So
Yeah, and then him being like,
weird that they put that one up then, because I want I
don't
thought
know.
it was strange that they had a big page and it just had a view trailer button and you push it and you get that little 40 second thing. This is, no.
yeah, I don't know. I just found it on
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Reddit, but yeah, and he's like, the samurais are all about honor, and he's like, honor died the day that the fucking Mongols came and attacked us on the beach. The Khan must suffer. Yeah, so
so they swear then.
No, it's just me.
Oh, okay. I was about to say there's something a little bit out of place about an honourable race suddenly dropping an F-bomb. I don't know.
No,
It just doesn't quite feel right.
It's clearly me. But it looks like a fairly basic story setup, but that's fine. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm super hype. Super hype.
Cool.
And I think, speaking of that, everyone seems to be raving about that FF7 demo.
Yeah, should we talk about that? Should we transition into a bit of what you've been playing? Because have you given it a 5-minute try?
I have Well, we played like 10 minutes of it, like the very start, and it's. So
I've seen my
the whole
flatmate
thing,
play
but...
probably 25 minutes of it.
I mean, it's like okay, so
it's the start of FF7.
It feels exactly as it did when I played the EGX demo, which was the EGX demo was basically the Scorpion fight, which is towards the end of this demo. And we didn't get that far. We got as far as being able to control Barrett pretty much before we.
I mean, all that happens before that is, other than the story-wise, you entering the Mako reactor is is tutorial basically. Yeah,
pretty much. And, it's hard to like fault its presentation. Like it's pretty damn good looking, and the lighting's quite nice, and it's there's a lot of sparks and stuff. There's a lot of sparks.
Maybe too much.
Maybe too many sparks. I think the camera control is a little problematic, especially when you're having to do that bit with Barrett where you're looking up to shoot at some guns. I found that pretty awkward because it's hard to get the lock on to look at ones you could actually shoot. It seemed to be always targeting something else.
When you meant to lock the target though, and then tab preview.
Yeah, I think that's what it was trying to teach me to do, but just like it's just a little finicky. Which is something I'll probably learn, but
it definitely looks great.
Looks
awesome.
Admittedly, I haven't I haven't seen too much of it, but like what they've added, in terms of dialogue and stuff like that, and the slight giving characters perhaps a little bit of personality that you couldn't necessarily discern from text only, or the added dialogue that's now there to flesh it out a bit more. It seems fine. It was kind of funny and odd in a couple of places, but Barrett seems slightly more crazy, I think, than perhaps he should be. But I think it all works. I think it all comes together.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part for me is that Barrett was always kind of a weird blaxploitation type stereotype in 1997, but they haven't fixed
They've
that.
Stuck with it. Yeah.
They've doubled down.
If anything, they've leaned into it far more,
which is just embarrassing.
But that's the thing. I think they've definitely gone with the over the top, and the way the characters act feels very not super anime, but more anime. If you know what I mean, people emote exaggerated, like the Wedge. The couple of times we've seen Wedge so far, he's a very emotional guy. It seems. I'm immediately sad that Cloud says it's going to be a one-time gig, and he's like, oh.
He turned up for one shot, didn't he, in the Rise of Skywalker?
He did, yeah.
For no reason. I wonder how much they paid him.
The way Barrett said Wedge was kind of fun as well, because he's like, Wedge.
Wedge. I want to see how they deal with Red 13.
Yeah, I mean, he will be in it because it's towards the end of this.
I've already seen that in their preview.
Yeah, which I don't want.
Rob refuses.
I mean, I'm refusing to see as much as possible. Yes. This demo is only appealing because it is literally the start of the game.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea for their demo to not just stick it in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, it's not like a supercut of bits from the game or anything like that. It's just it's just the game. Here you go. It seems good. It seems cool. I'm pretty hyped, but it's.
I'm just annoyed we're not going to be able to make videos of it. Damn it!
We're trying to figure out how to capture off my. I mean, you can capture off a PS4, but
sure.
We'd have to.
But we don't have that set up in our current situation.
No, it'd be a slight pain in the ass, but we could do it. What, you want to do another full playthrough?
Hell yes!
Yes.
It's got to be required, isn't it? If your YouTube channel has a full playthrough of Final Fantasy VII, literally real time with no cuts, then surely you have to do that again for the remake.
I mean, I guess I kind of want to play it through properly, and then just pure enjoyment rather than doing it for the video first, though. You know what I mean? But it's one of those.
But that's what people want. They want the real reactions on video.
I guess. I don't know now. I'm probably not playing that. Yeah, no, it seems cool. Get hype.
Yeah. Get broadly hype.
Hey, if you want to know what else to get hype for?
The town.
we're not getting hyped town.
What's that?
In 3 days' time, Ori and the Will of the Wisps actually comes out.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I'm so hyped. Game Pass hype.
Rob's hype because he doesn't have to spend money.
Yeah.
Or like more money.
More money. I've been looking forward to that for ages. It's like way later than it was originally planned to come out. And it looks fabulous. Tis the season for 2D platformers for me. So it's playing a lot.
I guess.
Yeah. What we do next? Who's talking about what? That was the transition.
The transition.
Games.
So you guys have slightly played that, but what have you played more in depth? Rob.
Me.
Rob.
Well, I don't know if you listened back to the last episode, listeners and Dan, but I was waxing about Indivisible, which is something I'd started playing and I was really quite into because it's good. It's that game that the Skullgirls developers made, that Lab Zero, and it's it's an RPG-light experience, as I said last time. But I was about halfway through the game at that point, maybe a little more than that, and I was a bit more. I think. Oh yeah, I didn't really say much bad about it, did I, last time? Which is where this week's comes in, because hey, I still think that game's real good. It's one of my. Had I played it last year when it came out, I think I'd have been a bit more. I think I'd have still talked about it quite a lot for Game of the Year type stuff, because I think that narrative all the way through is really good. I think the voice acting is top tier. I mean, I figured out after the fact that it's got it's got voice actors that have been in Overwatch. It's got Matt Mercer, who's done loads of stuff. It's got the guy that plays Torbjorn. It's got some newcomers as well who haven't done a whole lot of stuff because of the setting. But it's a hell of a cast, and it shows, because all of the voice interactions are fantastic. All the characterizations are fantastic. Razmi, the apathetic witch, might be my favorite character for a long time. She's the comic relief basically for most of the conversations. She's great. I think that the storyline in general has a decent emotional payoff towards the end. So you actually do care about everyone and their relationship with Ajna, the main character, and and I think that works really well. There's a whole goodbye scene. It's without getting too spoilery, but there's a whole bit where it's you have to have conversations with people, and it's about what may or may not be, and it really works. I think it earns it, and that's kind of rare for a game to actually pull off. I think to have that sort of moment, and you could go, all right, yeah, you got there. So it's not like Death Stranding's middle of the game storylines where you're sat there going, oh god, no, I really don't care. Why are you spending so much time on this? It's I've just met you. It's not that. It's super well done in that. I think where the game starts to falter is that a lot of the second half is retreading. You're going back to the areas again to right wrongs, which is also, it's an interesting story element. It's you don't do everything exactly right for a while, and then you have to revisit the areas because it's kind of your fault and stuff like that. Slightly spoilery, but sorry about that. But it's interesting to see that whole reason, and it gives good reasons for you to go back to places. And also there's a bit of the Metroidvania-y style. Oh, now I can go to places that I couldn't before because I've got all these new abilities, and that trivialize traversal in some areas, but are actually essential to get to other places. So that's all cool, and that's all quite nice. But the problem is that those retreads can sometimes feel a bit excessive because of the way there's a little bit of fast travel in the game, a little bit, but you still have to manually graft your way to get to the bits of the level where you might need to do a thing, and those distances can be quite large at times. So it gives you an excuse to engage with the combat a bit more and go and fight some things and do some more leveling up. Perhaps swap your team out while you're doing that and experiment with character combinations that you hadn't done before. which is quite nice. But it has the side effect of like, oh, hey, I can grind my way to make this game trivial. Because I'm like traversing these areas quite a lot and trying to find things I'm doing, and I'm being a bit I was trying to be a bit completionist and find stuff that I knew, go back and revisit areas, things that I knew I couldn't do before, and go do those things. I ended up over leveling quite badly, so the combat actually just got easier and easier and easier as the game went on. So it meant that the fights weren't quite so grindy as they were before, but there was just very little challenge for the rest of the game, which was a bit of a shame, because that fighting game inspired combat system has the room to do some really interesting stuff, but I trivialized it too much by the back half of the game. Doesn't mean I don't find it less cool. It's just that I think that there's plenty of room for what they could take that system and do more with it. Which is cool if they decide to revisit it and do a sequel. Of which there's maybe a little bit of room to do a sequel. The story has one of those just a little picture at the end where you think, oh, they probably could. They might be able to go back to this somehow, but maybe not. It's if it's a one and done, that's fine too. But the cast is so good and so extensive that it's just like, oh, it'd be a shame not to revisit some of this. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It's probably going to stick with me for a while. It's a damn fine game. Turns out I missed quite a bit of stuff, but fortunately you don't need that stuff. You can miss a lot of the optional stuff, and you can, as long as you get one of the optional side characters and do their side mission, you could get 1,000 gamer points. Like, you don't need to be completionist to get the whole achievement bucket, which is interesting. But it turns out I missed at least 2 characters, 2 of the optional characters, and I basically missed how the entire side mission system works completely. In that I only manage to do one of them and get that achievement, like, sort of by accident. Because the game doesn't really telegraph when that stuff becomes available to you. It becomes available to you really quite late in the game, and you have to go out of your way in order to acquire those side missions. It's not obvious what you have to do. So basically, for all but one character, I didn't even discover what the side missions were. They're not really essential. They're just a little bit of extra bit of plot, maybe, for that character. And weirdly, that's like one of the areas where the game decides not to voice act the things, which is a bit of a shame. I think they could have voice acted these side missions and not make them feel out of place compared to the rest of the game. And you basically get a little bit of a stat boost on characters for which you've done the loyalty mission for, which I didn't really need at that point because I'd overleveled too much. But it was some of those plot lines are actually the ones that I've gone back to do after finishing the game. It's like, oh, these are actually kind of cool. You go and visit areas that you were just blank rooms when you were exploring before, and then you realized, oh, these big empty rooms are where side mission stuff happens. I just didn't have the side missions turned on because I hadn't gone and done the thing that turns them on.
Right.
And it's but some of those fights are some have got unique conditions, or they're variants of creatures you fought before, so they're not all just, hey, go here, do a thing. They're like, hey, go here, do a slightly different thing. So there's a little bit of work's been put into them. But out of those 2 characters I missed, like, one of them actually changes the main character's attack strings, which is fascinating to me. Like, it's an optional character that gives you a weapon,
right,
that actually changes how the main character attacks. Set some of the strings you do during the combat system change, and I just didn't have that for my playthrough. And it's like, so I went back and got him, and it's like, oh, this changes things. That's really interesting. That's weird. And there's one character I definitely missed who sounds badass, who I might actually go back and just see what his deal is.
Oh yeah.
But I just didn't see him at all. And I don't know how to trigger the thing to make him appear, but I know I've missed him, and he sounds cool. So I've got to try and go back and find him. Anyway, I'm rambling a bit. Indivisible, I think it's quality, but it has problems. It's not a perfect game by any means.
What platforms is it on?
All of them, I think.
Okay, cool.
It's currently available on Xbox and PC Game Pass. But I think I'm pretty sure there's a PS4 version, and I think there's a Switch version as well. So fill your boots. And I wish the narrative in the Iron Kingdom specifically was better. It does a weird thing. It does kind of too much of tell, don't show. Like where the presentation budget of the game clearly fell down a bit, I suppose, and that it just wasn't. You do a thing the first time you visit there, and it's supposed to impact the city in a big way, but it's not really visually made apparent to you. It tells you that this thing is happening, but you don't really see that thing happening, and it never really explains why that thing is happening. So you kind of just have to take it as, oh, okay, that's just what happens with the technology in this place, I guess. It's weird, and it's not as well done as it could have been by a long way. And so there's a bit of a standout black mark on the rest of the storytelling in that thing. It's just like they clearly just didn't have the budget to try to put the work in to maybe animate how that or redesign the area so the thing that happens makes the actual difference that they're telling you has happened. It's a little odd, and but it's kind of a minor blip in what was a great time.
Indivisible.
Good game.
Good game. Check it out.
So in my 2D platformer phase, I've moved on, as I said I would do 2 podcasts ago. I started playing Grease. Or Gris. But I think it's pronounced, everyone seems to pronounce it Grease, even though it's Gris.
Gris Lightning, go Gris Lightning.
Which is also on Game Pass, but I think is available on most platforms. And it's an arty, abstract 2D platformer where I don't really know what the hell's going on story-wise. You're sort of a girl wearing a black cape a little bit. Imagine the character from Journey, the sort of cape guy, but with the full-on face of a girl put on top, and just sticks for arms and legs. And that's who you are. It seems like at the start of the game you're singing, but then for some reason your voice stops and then the world breaks. And so it turns into a platformer to go and find the colors of the world, and it rebuilds the world as you find the colors for it. Maybe? I think that's the plot.
Story of Wizball.
But with less balls.
Apparently. At least 2 less.
And less wizards.
Well, maybe. You don't know
we might be a wizard.
Yeah, robes.
Well, there's sort of a wizardry aspect to it, I suppose, because you start getting abilities for your cape. You can make it square, which makes you heavy.
How is it already square?
Well, it's like a triangle, kind of,
okay.
like flowing capey thing from your neck. Or the ability to swim in an arrow shape underwater from bird flying. A little bit of flying. You find some what look like papercraft birds, and then if you press jump on them, then you go flying for a bit. It's I don't know. It's a cool looking thing. I think the music and the atmosphere of it in particular are very, very well done. You might argue that the actual platforming and what you're doing isn't particularly complex. It's quite simplistic puzzle platformer stuff.
Right.
But it's selling itself on atmosphere. And I prefer it when it's being more abstract, which is what it was towards the start of the game. But as you move through it, you start getting more. Things become a bit more grounded, I suppose. So you start getting a level which is more like a forest as opposed to just being shapes and rocks. And it's where the creatures are still a bit weird, but they're more creaturey. I don't know. There's a scene right near that I preferred it where it was being a bit more Yellow Submarine, I suppose, with some of its influences. In that, there's some birds flying in the background, but they're weird. They're just weird, wafty sheep-looking things. And like giant one goes past at one point in the background, and you're just like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like this vibe. And but as you go through, things are a bit more. Oh, that's an eel, or oh, those look like fish. They're simplistic, but they're fish. Rather than just being odd forms. I'd preferred it if it had stuck to the odd forms a bit more. But it's a well-crafted puzzle platformer. I think I'm most of the way through it at this point. But I will definitely finish it because it's kind of cool. It's a sort of chill-out experience, except for the few moments where it's not. Because, boss. There's sort of boss fights. There's tension.
So chill out, but with the occasional bit of tension.
Yeah. That's Greece. It's cool. Good warm-up for Ori.
Yeah, get ready for Ori. Cool.
One other thing, which is kind of a preview. I finished off a little game called Expand, which Zach and I have recorded a video of.
Oh, cool.
Which will be the next video to go up on the site.
Which we assumed was about 50% of that game in that video.
And that was pretty much correct. Yeah, it was just over twice as long to finish it. Finish it again, and then finish the rest of it. Yeah, it's a cool thing. I won't spoil the video. It's not as funky as we were expecting. We were expecting something a little different, but I will say that I think the back half of that game has better music than the first half. And the music, and it's more adaptive music as well. There's a sequence towards the end where you're under some time pressure to move your square through the circular maze, and the music ramps up the further you get through it. So when you die, it all calms down again, which is pretty cool. Quite well done. Anyway, watch the video. You'll know what I'm talking about. But watch it next week because it's not out yet. Also, it was another one of those videos where it took me far too long to actually do the video edit for. I'm seriously falling out with DaVinci Resolve. It's just too buggy. I got it to the point where it wasn't showing any menus. Like I couldn't make menus appear. Like that simple UI thing that you do, like when you right-click stuff. Menus.
What part of the process is that for?
Oh, any part. I need to right-click stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like if I need to load.
No, I mean DaVinci Resolve.
Oh, DaVinci Resolve is the video editor I'm using right now.
Right. Yeah.
So as an alternative to Premiere.
Right.
And it's it's totally free and it's totally capable, as in it can do the things you want. But I just find its UI so weird and awkward to use, and it's I don't know. It's got like an After Effects-y style thing built into it called Fusion, or which is also a separate product if you want it to be. But it's just like, and Fusion itself seems again quite capable, but it's just the editors around the edges. Like, I can load in all these effects. I can build a node tree of how I want those effects to be applied. But then if I actually want to edit where the keyframes for certain animations are, or where the things happen and where they change, or subtle little things, the keyframe editor and spline editor are just terrible. They're really like bafflingly bad to use. To the point where it's just easier to actually try and scrub through where I'd made keyframes before and change the values in a really clunky ass way, than actually try and use the specially designed editors for that stuff. It's really weird, and it's like even to the process where if I've made one of these like Fusion clips for a bit of animation, like usually just the end credit stuff, where I do something stupid for the videos. And and I want to go back and edit that later because the Fusion editor doesn't play the audio in line with where I'm doing the thing. So timing it can be a bit of a pain in the ass where I have to go in and out of the editor. Like go to the editor, see if it's in sync. It's not in sync, right? Go back to Fusion, move things by a few frames, which then means I have to deal with a keyframe editor. and then go back into the edit tab to see how that all times out with the audio and stuff like that. It's like it's just a
pain in the neck.
It's a ball ache. Yeah, it's like why is it designed like that? It's very confusing. And that software seems buggy as hell in places. It's like I've made it crash. I've made it get stuck on video renders. I've made it doesn't have some of the bugs that were annoying me in Premiere, admittedly. Its audio
Different
syncing
bugs.
is way better, and it's capable of loading in different formats better. But then it's completely incapable of loading other formats in. Like if I want to use like some effect mobs, like with Alpha Channel that I've got, like for doing like nice cool stuff. It's like it doesn't load half of them in. Ugh. Bad for a video editor. Hey, video editor, load video. I'm falling out of it. Can you tell? I'm getting riled. Riled, I say. Yeah, I think I'm done.
You're sort of done.
Sort of done.
There's a convenient transition that you only played like maybe an hour of.
You're talking about ODST?
No, well,
No?
that as well, but no, I was talking about something me and you played separately that we both played.
Yes, 2 Point Hospital.
Yep. That's
Oh,
the one.
really?
Rob went back in for a short period.
I did. I played a couple of hours today. Because I knew Zach had been playing it. I thought, I might as well refresh myself.
Did you go and do the Superbug thing that I queued up?
I did.
Good.
I don't think I completed it all, but like I've at least signed up to being like as part of it.
Well, I was like, I'd done everything I could by myself.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
thing. You require more than one person to finish things.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go check out what my actual requirements for that are. And I still, as it turns out, the volcano level
Was the next one.
is
that you
the
were
very
on.
next one I need to do.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually started that yet because I was 3-starring the last level.
Yeah.
And I went and 3-starred a couple of older levels as well because it's piss easy to do so once you've got to that point.
Yeah, I guess. I always just restart them on the first try, so I don't really have that going back.
Oh, yeah, no, I've just been sort of cruising through, really doing it where it seems easy at the time. Yeah, I need to go and do that thing you told me about with the music.
Importing music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm getting really quite sick of that music now. But I'm still getting DJs barks that I've
Yep.
never heard before. How is that a thing?
I'm wondering what is even going to happen when they start, because I mean, like some of them are generic, but some of them are actually like level specific as
Yeah,
well.
there's so many of them, and it's not like you're playing a level for a brief period of time. You tend to be playing it for a few hours, maybe,
At least.
and you're still getting specific things. Like I've only just got the bit where it's been like even when I went back to an older level, like the radio DJ started complaining about Henry Jobsworth.
Yeah.
You know, the health inspector, like not coming around the radio station and sorting out some problems that the DJ had. And he's like, oh, because he's too busy visiting a hospital. And it's
Well,
like,
yeah, but
well,
that's,
sure enough, he's in my hospital.
yeah, but that's kind of generic, though.
I know, but it's like I had that seems like something it would talk about earlier on in the game. Like then it didn't when I first went through it, and it's like,
But maybe because you just didn't spend that long on that level.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of amazing that there are so many of those across all of the different DJs as well.
Yeah. And like things that aren't even attached to DJs, like random adverts and shit.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I can't even remember what one of them was, but it was a funny food ad, and I just couldn't help but stop for a moment and just giggle at it.
You've got to have cheesy gubbins.
It might have been that one actually. Yeah, it might have been Cheesy Gubbins. It was just
And then, like I don't remember what the one that they keep. I think this is maybe the one that I have heard more than once.
Cheesy Gubbins.
There's like the extra cheesy version or something. Oh no, it's more cheese. They just call it more cheese. Like, why mess with a good thing? Just more cheese.
Yeah, the ads are great as well. They're all pretty genius. It's that side of the game is fantastic. There's my music ended up with a bit of a bug. The actual music part of it,
Right.
for me, in that it stopped playing for a while, and then when it came back, it started playing the same track twice.
Weird.
So it would play the track once. I'd get a DJ thing saying, "And now for another hideous tune," or whatever the posh guy says.
Yep.
And then I'd get the same song again.
I kind of don't like how it pauses if you're paused.
Pause as if you're paused.
Because it doesn't pause immediately. It pauses at the end of a track. If you're in pause for a long time.
Oh, I never noticed that. I don't suppose I pause all that much.
And I don't think I think it only pauses if it's going to play a non-music bit, like an advert or a DJ message.
Oh, I see. Right.
I guess kind of so you don't miss them, maybe? If you pause and then walk away. It just plays through the rest of the music track and then stops.
I mean, I guess, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And, the context might not have come up for the DJ yet. Or
yeah. But that is kind of weird how if you're in pause for any significant amount of time, eventually it's just silent.
Or maybe it knew what was coming up about the DJ next, and it was like context sensitive to like the inspector or the epidemic or something going on. Or
I don't think those are specific because there's lots of levels that have those same elements.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I played quite a lot more of that, and I very nearly stopped playing it pretty much exactly where Rob was.
Yeah, right.
Because as I said to Rob last week when we were talking about it, it's like a lot of the systems of that game feel like they feel like they were just like one pass. It's like they were implemented and then they never went back to balance them, basically.
Right. It's like, oh, we've got that system now. Moving on.
Yeah, like the level that Rob had stopped on and I nearly stopped on was the one where one of the mission goals is to make your hospital attractive.
Man, that's annoying.
It's such an ass system. Because
I got to the point where I couldn't find where I needed more attractiveness in order to make the percentage go up enough.
And yet you've covered literally every space on your walls with posters because that's pretty much all you can do.
Yeah, and then I actually got around to buying one of the fountains and just plonking that down in every spare space I had.
It's just a dumb system because
I did end up. I think I pushed it over the edge doing the thing you exactly said, which was like buy a plot of land I didn't have yet and just fill it with fountains.
Yep.
And it's like, and that totally worked. It gave me just enough attractiveness to hit the goal. It's like, this is stupid.
And as I said to Rob, it's like it's a bad system because it's badly balanced. Essentially, like what they should have done is make everything that causes attractiveness give you like twice as much and twice the radius, and then that system would have been great. Well, not great, significantly improved.
Yeah,
because the way it worked, because like everything has such an incredibly tiny range of effectiveness. That you have to basically coat all your walls with posters to have it even have an effect.
Well, then some stuff doesn't even give you a full effect right next to it either. It's like it'll give you like a half attractiveness right next to it, and it's like that's no good.
Yeah, it's just like it's a kind of dumb system. And also, generally, the problem with that system is just like there's not enough variety in the things you can make.
Oh, sure.
I mean, there's a lot of variety, but it's like not actually variety. There's like posters is a type of thing, and there's a lot of them, but it's just a poster.
Oh, but do you want the paintings rather than the posters? Because the paintings give you slightly more attractive.
Incredibly marginally, though, because really the only thing that matters is how much the thing costs.
I guess, yeah.
The more expensive the thing you're placing, the higher the attractiveness. So basically, it boils down to gold certificates, because those are the most expensive thing you can attach to walls.
Oh, I haven't got those.
And then, of course, the subsequent problem with that system is there's not actually very many things you can build in the room. Like, it's all wall attached stuff. Unless you want to fill your room with plants, but then you're fucking your janitors because they have to go water them all the time.
No, those little aquariums, the little bowl aquariums work quite well for that.
I think they have those. They might be DLC.
Because they don't... Oh, I don't think I have any DLC. But like, they don't need watering. They're like just a little fish bowl.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have those. I don't think they're even in the list, which means they probably are DLC.
I didn't think I had any.
Well, there should be an icon next to it if it's DLC, so you'll be able to tell.
Yeah. Because it's been things you haven't bought yet with your kudos.
Yeah, I think I've bought mostly everything now, apart from a couple of the really expensive things where it's like the larger one of the fountains or whatever.
Oh, I haven't bought the large fountain, no.
I've just bought up all the cheap stuff. Just for variety. But again, you entirely don't need to do that. You can just spam gold certificates because there's no penalty for using the same item a million times in a room or anything like that. So again, not a very balanced system. So that was the attractiveness mission. And then the mission after that, the one that Robin is now on, is basically the disasters mission where everything is constantly causing your machines to get damaged and catch on fire.
Don't think I've ever seen anything catch on fire.
No, it's relatively rare. There have been a couple of levels before this where it could happen with earthquakes. But now, then that leads to a different balance thing, which is like much more subtle than the attractiveness situation, where everything in this hospital is likely to keep catching on fire, so you need fire extinguishers. which you place in the room. Usually, you don't have to, but usually you stick a fire extinguisher in every room with a machine just for safety's sake.
Sure.
But the trouble with that is that the fire extinguishers are weirdly, realistically single use. So if the machine in the room catches fire and the handyman goes in there and grabs the fire extinguisher and puts out the fire, that fire extinguisher is now gone. And you have to manually go into the menus and select the fire extinguisher and place a new one down. So you kind of have to be paying attention to the fact that a fire just happened, and then remember that you then have to go and build a new fire extinguisher, or or then the next time there's a fire in that room, the handyman then has to run out of the room and find another fire extinguisher somewhere, which then might cause that machine to explode if they don't get back in time. So it's a really tiny inconvenience, but it's just like, why? Really? I mean, it costs you 50 quid to build a fire extinguisher, I guess.
I mean, yeah, could it have just cost you money to replace it? Could you have just an auto replenish?
Yeah, exactly. Or just make that like a handyman job that costs a bit of money, like how refilling the snack machines is.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, and then that mission in general is just like quite a hassle because of the way everything is constantly being damaged. It's kind of annoying. But then the next 2 or 3 missions after that I've got to, it gets quite nice and easy for a while. I'm just like, oh, this is kind of relaxing. It's gone back to being a nice, simple game where I don't have to worry so much and don't have to be quite so hardcore about money or whatever, or be so precise about everything. It's just like now I can just build a nice hospital the way I want to and take as long as I want to because there's no real time pressure or anything. Not that there really is time pressure in any of the levels. Although weirdly, I say that because it's weird because again, balance issues with their systems. The next level after the everything is on fire level is the epidemics level.
Oh god.
Where there's just constant epidemics, which they have already introduced before that level, weirdly.
Yeah, but it's one of my least favourite systems in that game. It takes so long.
But then this is where, again, this is the major balance issues with this system. So the epidemics, you see them a few times earlier, but in this specific level, there's one of the star mission things is like cure a certain number or vaccinate a certain number of people during epidemics. So you kind of have to do it,
right?
But so the way
is it a less tedious epidemic condition? Because...
No, it's the same 2 because there's only those 2 as far as I can tell.
The Droggers one I find really annoying. It's it's so hard.
So this is the problem with the epidemic system is that the way you tell that people have the disease in the epidemic that you need to vaccinate them is that they have a different animation for their walk cycle. Which one of the 2 is more easy to spot than the other. First is the first problem. The second problem is people sit down a lot in your hospitals. People don't, in fact, walk all the time.
Or they're being treated.
Like they're lying in a ward bed is easily the worst place for them to be during an epidemic.
Oh, sure.
Because they stay there for a real long time.
So you're scanning around the hospital looking for people walking funny.
Yeah.
And then it's just like you're spending ages just doing laps, effectively.
Yep.
Being like, no, I still haven't found the guy.
And then
it still says there's 2 left.
And then if you don't find one in time and he sneezes, suddenly you've got like 5 more infected people you have to find.
God damn it. Well,
and often they'll sneeze while they're sitting on a bench next to a bunch of other people sitting on a bench. It's like, well...
And the problem is like by the time you see that stat go up, because it doesn't really announce it.
No.
Anything. It's like, oh, I can't even really narrow down where that came from.
No.
All too real.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Kind of. So it's a badly balanced system for the way they wanted to implement it in the game. But then that's annoying and kind of makes that system annoying. But the way it's extremely badly balanced is the way that you just don't need to do it. So basically, if you play this annoying minigame, you can get a tiny amount of cash, a tiny amount of reputation, and that's it, pretty much. That's all you get from succeeding in the epidemic. If you fail, if you let too many infected people escape or run out of vaccines, then you lose 12 reputation or whatever. I think it's 12.
12 out of your 100, right?
Yeah. Except I'm not sure it's 1-to-1 percentage and reputation gain.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how that bar exactly works. But you lose 12 reputation if you fail. If you just click the cancel mission button on the epidemic, which is what in Theme Hospital it used to be called announce the epidemic, you just say, yeah, we're fucked, and then the government steps in or whatever. Which is still what it implies it is in this game. If you just click that button, you lose 10 reputation. So you literally lose less reputation from just cancelling the mission immediately than you do from trying to do it and failing.
In first, reputation isn't really a problem anyway.
And exactly, reputation is so incredibly easy to get. Even on the mission where epidemics is the one thing that mission's all about, I just cancelled them all after I'd done the treatment, and it still barely made any difference to my reputation.
Because my rep's always maxed out.
Yep.
Like I can't seem to make it dip. It's like even if I'm failing like what do you call it? The accident, the emergencies, and things like that.
That barely has any reputation penalty either.
Yeah, or people are dying a lot, or something like that because I haven't got decent queue management.
I mean, that was the one time I did get the reputation to go down, where I basically was majorly overloaded at like the GP's end, and I was just like, well, I could maybe kick a bunch of people out or whatever, but I was just like, fuck it, and just let everyone die. And that actually did make, eventually, after a really long time of doing that, my reputation did go way down.
But then it's kind of nice. Yeah. It's like now I've got fewer people.
And then no one comes and it solves all your queue problems.
Yeah.
And it's like there's not enough. There's like no actual penalty for people dying apart from the reputation. Like you don't lose money.
Right.
So the whole system is just kind of, like I said, it feels like they did one pass on it when they created that system and never came back to balance it again. But yeah, the subsequent levels after that have just been like quite, and also nice building layouts also helps in like the next two missions.
Oh, that's
which is like, these buildings are just the right size and shape to fit all these rooms in quite nicely.
That attractiveness. Oh, maybe that's why the attractiveness level is so awkward, because it's just like, oh, hey, you're gonna have to leave a lot of space.
Here's a bunch of space to put attractive shit in. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I guess I'm on the second to last level now.
It's for all its flaws, and don't get me wrong, I did burn out on it like before I went back to it today.
Yeah,
like it's, you kind of start playing it again, and it's kind of difficult to stop.
Yeah, I mean it's not as extreme as most of those, as like Civ or whatever.
Oh no, it's not Civ. No,
but it is essentially the same thing. There's just like always one more problem to solve.
Yeah, there's always something to do, and you just can't help yourself. It's always a little thing to do.
I think actually it's the training of staff. There's always another person who needs training. You always need to start another training session.
Or another promotion.
Yep.
So they either click. Although, have you tried turning on the auto promotion option?
No.
Do you know, like what that like.
I mean, I assume it does exactly what it says. It
just puts it to just
at the correct level.
I'll turn that on then.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I turned on the was it the fast track diagnosis option, where it's like they don't have to go see the GP.
Yep.
That made a huge difference.
Yeah, it sure does.
That's like the best option ever.
The only reason to not turn that on is right at the start of the game, where you're just trying to get as much money as possible off a smaller number of patients. But as soon as you're up to like 3 GP's officers worth of queue, it's just like, yep, turn that on.
Just didn't need it. Just didn't need it. It was fantastic. Really wish I'd discovered that a lot sooner. And
I've started turning on the thing that prevents staff from leaving rooms when they're idle.
Oh, okay.
The main reason to do that is because
so they don't go to the staff room, or.
Well, no, because when they're idle in a room, they just go out into the corridor and wander around.
Oh, so you never really. So then, when someone actually does come, it takes some time
to go back to the room. So that's one reason. But the other reason is that it also prevents them from leaving the staff room after the end of their break. So they just stay in the staff room and continue to just like sit around and keep their energy up.
That's a good idea. So would they still go and get like drinks and stuff?
Yeah.
They needed them?
Yeah.
So they'd still leave a room like in the middle of their shift to get drinks, or?
Well, they don't really ever do that in the middle of their shift. It's always saved for the break, is when they actually do toilets and drinks and all that stuff.
Where's that option?
That's in the same menu.
So it's still in the policy
thing.
Yeah, okay. That sounds sensible as well.
Yeah. It's just the staff room part of it, really. And also I've started, not really on purpose, but I've started mainly only having one central staff room rather than having lots of little ones all over the place.
Because I don't always do that. Yeah.
I don't think the efficiency bonus of having people walk less far is worth it, really.
I've started putting down a lot more toilets.
Yeah, that is the one that you do have to build in pretty much every building.
Yeah. Build another bog.
Yes.
You got a little bit of space, build a bog.
Although don't build it too small, because then that actually still doesn't work, because they get queued up too easily.
I think it's in a bog queue.
Well, they don't really queue, that's the problem. They just sit in the sheets and pee all over the floor.
Just poop.
Yeah, there's that. I'll probably finish it, I guess, since I'm on the second to last level now.
Okay. Because the remix update was free.
Oh yeah, I did go back and do one of those.
Okay, yeah.
I went and did the first one of those.
Are they noticeably different, or are they like? Do they do stuff visually, or like fun stuff like that? Or...
Well, this is what we were theorizing about.
So remix was a free update where you revisit some of the original levels, but the conditions have changed.
Yeah.
And they're supposedly claiming like it's a simulation of the hospitals, which is weird because it's a simulation of a simulation.
Yeah. So
Hospitalception.
I don't necessarily know if this applies to all of them because I've only done the first one. In the first, probably what does apply to all of them is they pixelate the clouds on the loading screen. So that's like nothing, but
Fine. But yeah, so it's a touch.
But in the first level, and I'm not sure if this applies to all of them, because the first level is like waves. Like it triggers a big wave of patients to all come at once, and then you process them all, and then another wave comes.
Hospital horde mode.
Kind of, except it's not really like you have as long as you need to process the wave before the next wave is even triggered.
Provided they don't die.
It doesn't like stack them.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, right. So it's not like timed waves.
No,
it's just like you've dealt with everyone in that wave. Now here comes the next.
You just have to have a certain treatment percentage success overall per wave.
There should be a button to be like, now wave me.
Yeah, there should be. Because sometimes you end up with like one person who's just in the ward forever or whatever.
Yeah, and you're just like, that's fine, wave me, go.
Because also, you're still running in real time in terms of like paying staff.
Oh, right.
So you
got that one guy that you need to get rid of.
And you're paying your whole staff.
I just send it home.
Well, you could. But the one thing that is different in that remix mode, apart from the whole conditions of the mission, is for some reason the music is just like sped up 10%.
Okay.
So all the songs are just faster.
What if it does? Or does that with the custom soundtrack as well?
I don't know. I didn't try that. I still had it on the default one.
You can imagine a slightly faster I buy the drugs.
That would be interesting if it does do that. I should actually have checked that.
You got any hospital music choices, Dan? Because obviously the go-to was Electric Six, I Buy the Drugs.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But the thing is like the other one I thought of was like Girl, You See the Medicine, by White Stripes, but it's a bit too hardcore for Two Fight Hospital.
Yeah,
you need calm illness music.
Yeah, there must be some good. It's not a typical songwriting subject necessarily.
I mean, you could probably find any jazz under any jazz.
Yes, that's pretty much exactly the right kind of soundtrack. Or you could just go on the Steam Workshop and just have the theme Hospitals and soundtrack, because that's on there.
Is it really?
Yep.
That's what I always do with the Wipeout collection. Just because it connects to Spotify or whatever, so you just stick on the longest playlist you find of the classic Wipeout tracks.
Does it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Or are you just using the PlayStation Spotify app?
I think I was just using that actually. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't think it actually. Yeah, I can't remember what I did. It was probably just that. I was probably just using the PlayStation Spotify app, which is a shame because it doesn't
it doesn't sync with the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it works fine, but it'd be nice if it dampened it out when you went into boost mode and stuff like that.
I'm all for more games doing some proper Spotify integration, provided I imagine there's like some licensing problems with actually like doing effects on music whilst you're.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know. Right. I don't know. This could be something because that's the only reason I could think of why like the original Xbox's like custom soundtrack feature was potentially was ditched for these like just players. Because the OG, that custom soundtrack thing on the original Xbox could actually be game controlled.
Yeah, exactly. Like it would start tracks when you started the level and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it would be extra good if you could, because it's a classic thing to cut out all the highs when you go into boost mode and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. You want them to be able to do some effects.
Yeah, I can see why not.
But yeah, it's the in the air thing, isn't it? With Wipeout, you take a massive jump and then it high passes it.
Yeah, which is cool. Yeah, I don't know what I would choose for 2 Point Hospital. I'm sure break out a bit of Miles Davis. I'm sure that'll do. It's good for most situations. So
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you want some gas fusion, something a bit weird.
Yes, like that game is a bit weird.
Like the first half of Koan Sounds, one of their albums. It's all a bit jazz fusion. It's kind of cool. Jazz fusion bass.
So that. Played mostly that, I guess. And some other small parts of things that I want to talk about. Well, the first thing that I want to talk about, mainly just so I can toot my own horn about it, I guess. Is I wanted to mention Rocket League, or a new season of Rocket League coming up. News, I guess.
News.
At the end of the pass, I assume. Is it all timed?
Yeah, I guess they haven't said that specifically, but they did say in the past that they wanted to do that. So
there's only like 2 weeks left.
Oh yeah, there are only actually 2 weeks left on the challenges. That's how you can tell.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. So I guess it's time to the new season. So that. But what I did in Rocket League that I want to just mention is I did the stupidly ridiculous, impossible thing of scoring 1v3.
Oh wow!
But there's some circumstances surrounding that explain why that happened.
Yeah.
Which is that I was in ranks, so it was still fairly legitimate, but my rank has been on the low part of the sine curve at the moment, so I'm down in the Diamond 1. I think this was a Diamond 1 match, which is the bottom of where I end up. I had to occasionally go down into Platinum at the very worst. But yeah, it was quite a low level match technically. Right from the start of the match, we let in 2 goals, and then that, of course, made the first teammate get hella salty, and then he pretty much immediately quit.
Yeah.
The second teammate stuck around slightly longer, and we let in 2 goals. We scored 1 before the other teammate quit. Then they scored 2 more, so it was 4-1. Then me and the second teammate scored twice, so it was up to 4-3. Then he quit for some reason, even though we were doing pretty well 2-on-3.
The other guy was holding you back.
And then I scored by myself and then drew the game 4-4.
Nice.
With 1 minute to go, but then I failed the kickoff and they just scored. So it was just it was pretty close.
I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Because you've got the kick.
You have to go for the ball pretty much.
Yeah, if the kickoff just
especially if you're on one of the side places, which I was.
If the kickoff just goes bad, then it's just you've got no defense.
But still, I was that was fairly hilarious that I managed to score by myself against 3 people. Admittedly, of course, they probably also weren't trying that hard.
No, probably not.
in a 3v1 situation.
Well,
they were probably already expecting me to just immediately quit or forfeit.
Yeah.
But you were no, stay with it.
Against the rules. Never forfeit.
Well, that's not true. So you kind of really do have to.
Never forfeit.
But if your entire team leaves you, it doesn't penalise you for leaving, does it?
You do still get a loss or whatever.
You get a loss, but a forfeit is considered a legit loss.
Yeah, but you don't if
as opposed to you disconnect.
Well, yeah, if someone has already
rage
quit, then you get less penalty than you would if you were the one rage quitting. I guess.
Good. Well, that's good.
But it's still a loss. It's still always a loss. So yeah, that was weird, and I saved the replay, so I have proof.
Of course.
Toot toot. Yep, that was my Rocket League moment. It's not that impressive when you consider all those extra circumstances around it.
Hey, I went online and Soul Calibur 6 and won precisely 1 game.
Well, good.
And got my ass handed to me many more times. I need to try and play a different character. Tira's quite hard online. I need something simpler.
And then the other 2 smaller things that I only need to mention more briefly was I went back to Mindustry for a while.
Mindustry.
It's had some updates since I last played it, I guess. Not really amazing. Well, I guess
Which one was Mindustry?
It's the one that sort of combines actual tower defense and Factorio.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay, I remember you saying that. It's the tower defense one. Okay.
Yeah. But so I went back to that for a while. They haven't really changed that much. I think they slightly adjusted the tech tree, and it wasn't really the patches that drew me back. It was more just I felt like playing some of it again. But there was one of the patches that happened quite early on after it released because it was one of those games where you wondered whether they were going to continue working on it. Because I'm not sure whether this is actually true or not, but it seems like a mobile game. Like it was a mobile game at some point, maybe because occasionally in the like UI it mentions tapping on things instead of like clicking on them, and I'm like, that suggests that this is probably a mobile interface at some point.
Right? Yeah.
But so after release, I was like, they're probably not. This is probably just going to come out, and that'll be that, because it's also a tiny indie game, and you can tell. But they have continued to update it quite a lot, and one of the quite early patches for it, they implemented like blueprints and like copy paste, like Factorio has.
Oh right, yeah.
Which was quite a late game addition to Factorio, but like this happened in Ministry immediately. I was like, holy crap, that's kind of impressive for this relatively simple game. That they've gone all into that much detail in what is essentially like UI. It's not like content. But yeah, it's quite fancy. You can save your blueprints. You can copy paste. You can even do something that Factorio doesn't do. You can flip the blueprints horizontally, so you can like mirror them, which is also real useful. And you wish it would do that in Factorio.
You don't have to make a blueprint L on a blueprint R.
Yeah, exactly. There's a mod in Factorio that will let you do that, but not in the base game. It's because in Factorio there's actually things that are specific directionality. Like the oil refinery has 3 outputs and it goes left to right of the 3 different resources it can output, so you can't just mirror that.
Right, yeah. Nothing in Factorio goes quickly though, let's be honest. It's like neither the game nor development.
When they did implement the proper blueprint and copy paste system into Factorio, it was like, holy shit, this makes everything so much easier once you get robots. Because then you can literally just go like, you could it's not just copy and paste, it's also cut if you want. You can copy, you can paste, you can cut, and then you can put things into a blueprint as well if you want to actually save that. Although it actually does also have like a clipboard, essentially. So like all of the last, I'm not sure how many.
A clipboard history.
Yeah, but like all the things that you've done recently, you can just scroll back through them and be like, oh, I need another copy of that. I already copied that previously, so I can just copy that out and paste it back down again.
Yeah, that's useful.
It's very fancy. But I didn't think I was going to see something that fancy in Industry, but they did. So good on them.
Well done, you Industry people.
And then the other thing that I played only a tiny amount of,
Industrialists,
which I don't know if I am going to play that much more of it, even though I was quite enthusiastic about this. The patch for Oxygen Not Included came out. The first, well, no, not the second, I guess, free content update, because they'd already done one.
Sail in, boys. Here we go.
Yep. But I didn't play it like practically at all. And I mentioned this previously about what it was. It's like the additional automation stuff, where they've added like vents and stuff have automation plugs, so you can turn things off at the vent rather than having a valve upstream of the vent and control that.
Right, yeah.
All that stuff. And the little Roomba robot that goes around and sweeps stuff up. I had a look at that. I went like
Has it got a funny name?
Sweepy.
No, I thought that funny.
No. I went in there and looked at this in a test map, not an actual game map. And that robot seems pretty much useless. It sweeps such an incredibly tiny amount, really slowly. I think it might be better for like mopping, because it can mop up liquids as well. So if you have like an accidental spill, or like an area where liquids naturally drip onto the floor, like certain machines just leak liquid, maybe it would be better for sweeping up liquid than actual solid materials. Because it can only sweep up 10 kilograms of a thing in one action, and then it has an internal capacity of like 1,000. So it moves backwards and forwards and sweeps up 10 kilograms every time it meets an object on the ground.
Hold a ton?
Yeah. Lots of things can hold a ton, in Oxygen Not Included. But like 10 kilograms is such a minuscule amount. Like if you mine out a chunk of rock, that is literally a ton in one square. So it's going to take forever to sweep that up. Also, because it doesn't like stop. It moves across the whole width of a room, and every time it finds an item on the floor, it sweeps up 10 kilograms of that item, but it doesn't stop and continuously sweep one square. So if there's only one bit of rock in the middle of a room, it just takes forever to sweep that up, because it's going back and forth the whole length of the room every time it sweeps 10 kilograms of it.
That seems a bit weird.
So yeah, I'm not sure how useful that robot's actually going to be. But the sort of more useful, or the more interesting part to me of this new automation stuff, is something that I didn't think they were even going to put in, because I'm not sure it was in the preview builds that I'd seen, which is they've done the thing that everyone said they should do, which is put in the proper suite of sensors for the conveyor rails that all the other pipes have. So like gas vents and liquid pipes have sensors for temperature, element, and germs. So obviously you use those in the automation system to do whatever you need to do with liquids. If this water is too hot, you vent it out to some cooling mechanism or whatever, that kind of stuff. And conveyor rails didn't have any of that. They just had they had essentially a conveyor rail valve equivalent where you could branch it off on an automation signal, but the conveyor rails didn't have any sensors that attached to the actual rail, so you couldn't do anything. You had to use that automation to do from an outside source. But now conveyor rails do have all the sensors, so it's like sweet. Now you can have a conveyor rail that detects heat. It's basically one of the late game ways of dealing, or not really dealing with, but like controlling heat, is you use a conveyor rail which transports solid material. So obviously you've got gas vents for gas, liquid pipes for liquid, and conveyor rails for solids. One of the fancy things you can do with that is if you get diamond, which obviously melts at a super high temperature, put diamond on a conveyor rail, then you've essentially got like a heat pipe, essentially. Like you send the diamonds into a hot room, the diamonds on the rail get hot, and then you conveyor that out of the room to somewhere else, and it transfers the heat with the actual packet of diamonds.
Sure. Yeah.
But now you can have a temperature sensor on the conveyor rail, so you can actually detect when the diamond on the rail is getting hot or cold.
Oh, I see.
So you can actually manage that in a way more complicated and useful way.
So yeah, it's like, oh, I only need to ship these out when they're actually warm.
Yeah, or when they've cooled off in the steam generating room or whatever, and only then ship them back into the heat room. So yeah, that's going to let you do way more complicated things with temperature, essentially. And I guess the germ sensor is kind of also cool too, because then when you're mining the slime that has all the slime germs in it, now you can actually detect that. And send it through a bunch of chlorine or whatever. Clean the slime off before it actually comes into your base, maybe. Who knows?
De-slime.
But yes, it's quite nice and fancy, and it's probably going to allow some new, nice, fancy things. Except, the continuing problem with that game is there's really only one solution to actually deal with heat, which is the steam engines. So even though you can now do this fancy diamond heat transfer stuff, realistically all you're going to do with it is boil water into steam and then run that through a steam engine. Because there's still no other way to deal with heat. That's what they need to add in the next patch, hopefully, maybe. Who knows? I hope they understand that is a problem. That heat management in the end game all comes down to steam engines. So you just build steam engines all over the damn place. So there's that. And that's pretty much it.
Games.
Yep.
Games.
Game. Dan, you on anything at the moment?
No.
Oh.
Decide.
Well, Doom's coming. Get ready.
Doom is coming.
Doom is coming. Yeah.
Did you play Doom 2016?
No, not well. I did try it, but I didn't buy it. I must have had a demo or something. I definitely played it.
Yeah, I think they did a demo of some kind.
Yeah.
You played through it, didn't you, Rob?
Oh yeah, it was excellent.
Yeah. When is Doom 2 Hell on Earth? What's it actually called? Doom
Eternal.
Eternal, sorry. Doom 2 Hell on Earth.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's coming soon.
Yeah, 20th. Same day as Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. Yeah.
Presumably I have to play that.
I mean,
you don't have to. You can break the cycle.
Well, it's not a cycle for me with Animal Crossing, though, is it?
No.
There's only been one other game.
Oh, right, okay.
And also, I might actually have someone to play it with this time.
Wow.
And that'll be bad, because as we well know, as we've discussed previously, that whole multiplayer system of Animal Crossing is dumb and bad. But, you can at least accurately report on it, I suppose.
Well, apparently you can, give people more admin powers, basically, in your world.
Yeah, maybe, but how, does it matter?
Yeah, and does that actually negatively impact the other players? And that, if they go and do all the stuff,
wouldn't they be better off spending that time in their town?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I can't do on the same Switch.
So we'll see about that. That may happen.
Well, because you can only have one town on one console, one
On the
cartridge.
Switch. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, it's not on the cartridge. On the Switch.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's nasty.
That's not ideal,
good.
is it?
It's not good. I don't know why they chose to do that. It's like they're trying to have the old the cake and eat it with the old model, I suppose, and that you had to buy a game and the cartridge could only store one save.
Yeah, but then if two
town
people want towns, then they can't just buy two cartridges because they only have one
They
console.
can't do that now. No, yeah.
So you have to have
Always you
separate.
could on the previous
switches.
versions of the game.
Hmm. Oh well, won't affect me, but that does seem a bit of a shame. Yeah.
Unless you bought the digital version, I suppose, for 3DS, in which case you're a bone, because digital version.
Actually, I don't know if that would bone you, or whether it would still effectively see that as a separate save slot.
It would be a separate save slot. Yeah, you could still use a cartridge to save to the cartridge,
Right.
but the digital version you wouldn't be able to have multiple saves on.
Well, sure, but you wouldn't. That's still equivalent.
Which is pretty much what the Switch version is, right? It's that, but even with a cartridge.
Well, I guess we don't know that for sure.
I'm pretty sure they've said that, or have explained that's how it works.
Tom Nook's Desert Island Getaway Package. Perfect for 2 to 3 weeks of coronavirus lockdown.
Yep, very much so. Although not really, because you can only play that game for like half an hour a day.
Yeah, I guess.
Because that's how Animal Crossing works.
Yeah, well, you're going to be too sick for doing anything else. So.
Well, yeah, I guess. The half an hour that you could manage to be alive a day.
Get your Switch in bed.
Just don't use the touchscreen.
Why not? I mean, it's
Because
just
then
you.
you'll touch it later. Or someone else will touch it.
Or someone else will touch it. Oh, no.
Have you seen the Wuhan handshake? Where it's like
It's one with your feet, isn't there?
Yeah, you tap the sides of your feet.
Yeah, I've done that.
Everyone at conventions already does the elbows.
Yeah, that's the running club has started doing the elbows. Like not because anyone cares about coronavirus at the club, because it's just kind of weird to do. that's just why we're doing it.
Well, and also probably
sort of ironic elbowing.
I guess probably your elbows are less sweaty than your palms in theory.
I mean, yeah, but most people are wearing gloves at the moment, but because it's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold.
Not coronavirus either. Not that kind of time.
It be cold. A bit wind chill on your knuckles. Man, Knuckles must have it rough in winter.
I know.
Yeah, actually, like Knuckles the kid, Knuckles.
But he wears gloves constantly.
Oh yeah, true.
I don't feel like he'd get...
If he didn't
We don't even know what his hands are actually like.
Man, or okay, how about we flip this around? All of the characters in the Sonic universe must have disgusting hands.
In summer.
Yeah, underneath their gloves.
What, just because they wear gloves all the time?
Yeah. But it's like they're permanently in gloves.
But you
right?
don't see them take them off. Oh, maybe.
Yeah. It's just the grossest hands. There you go. It's my Sonic lore for the week.
as often happens on this podcast.
Do they wear gloves because it's animation tradition, like Mickey Mouse wears gloves?
I assume so, yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's because Mario does as well, right? Because it's for the sprites, essentially.
Yeah,
it makes it more obvious where the hands are.
Right. For animation purposes, yeah.
And, gives them an excuse to make the hand bigger.
Yeah.
They're big gloved.
Well, I don't think you necessarily
Kitty, get away from the mic.
don't think you necessarily need that excuse to make a sprite weirdly proportioned. They could have just been big hands. Your cat is all over that mic.
Stop it.
I think that means it's the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I think it is. I think cats get your pages. It must be food.
Cat is cancelling the podcast. Okay, yep. Well, never mind. Right, check out our YouTube channel. There's some more bad levels of Sonic Advance. Is that right?
Advance 2, yeah.
Advance 2 up, so check those
failing. And also see YouTube failed to compress that video well.
I thought it looked fine.
Oh, really? Oh, it looked awful when I was playing it back. Like, really bad.
How long did you wait before you played it back?
I mean, it supposedly had the 1080-60 version when I was checking it. But, yeah, it looked... It's when that crazy hyper rave pink background of techno bass.
Well, yeah, it is a background that you would assume it's going to be bad for YouTube compression.
Yeah.
Does that no effect, essentially.
Yeah, it's definitely the way YouTube handles it as well, because my files are way better.
Sure.
Like my master copies that
Oh
are
yeah, of course.
always going to be better than YouTube, but yeah.
Yeah, check those videos out, and we'll be back.
You'll get Expand next week.
Yeah. There'll be a video on Expand, which will be entertaining.
I mean, yeah, there's plenty.
I mean, yeah, probably.
There's plenty of room for comedy when there's actually less game to talk about. So
oh man, if you call anything that we do comedy,
it's of sorts, comedy of sorts. It's in a comedy bucket somewhere.
And presumably, if the apocalypse doesn't happen, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Saladcast.
Well, I mean, even if we're housebound, we'll still do a Saladcast.
That's true.
We've done it before.
It won't happen. Don't hoard your sanitizer. Don't hoard your bog roll, because apparently that's a thing.
Hold your bog roll.
Don't hoard your bog roll.
Okay, don't hold your bog roll.
People need that to poop.
It's true, they need it. Yeah. Just
poop regularly.
Yeah, poop regularly.
I don't think they're
it's like people are buying it like they think
right?
coronavirus is some kind of crazy diarrhea disease
it's
or something.
not that, is it?
No.
They're just cheap tissues.
Yeah, they're hoarding it for the nose expulsions.
Oh, for the nose. Why can't they just? They should just get Kleenex. It's nicer.
Well, those are probably already also sold out.
Yeah,
Do you
they've
think?
moved on to the bog roll, I reckon.
Buy shares in Kleenex and Netflix
And drug companies.
and Nintendo.
Yeah, Kleenex and Netflix, I think, go together for
Other reasons?
Yeah. Well, they said they don't, because there's none of that on Netflix.
No. And also the normal implication of the Netflix meme is that there's another person involved, which reduces the need for Kleenex somewhat.
Somewhat.
Right, yeah.
Anyway.
Enjoy. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Boom.